They found the letter 72 years too late, buried beneath floorboards in a farmhouse that had long forgotten its ghosts. The ink was faded, but the pain still screamed through every word. It began with "My dearest Thomas" and ended with the last truth he never lived to hear. The house on Briar Hollow Road had been empty for decades. Its windows were bone white with dust, shutters hanging like broken ribs. Children dared each other to touch the porch. Teenagers used it as a backdrop for ghost stories. Even the wind seemed to whisper around it differently, as if the house held its breath, waiting for someone to return. In July of 2023, someone did. Marie Laska wasn't looking for ghosts. She was a real estate appraiser, practical, mid-40s, worn down by years of travel and coffee that always tasted like regret. The old farmhouse was just another listing. Get the square footage, assess the foundation, check for rot, and go home. But as she stepped into the foyer, something felt wrong. Not haunted wrong, heavy wrong, like walking into a funeral you weren't invited to. The house creaked with old secrets. Her boots echoed on the warped wooden floor. The wallpaper peeled like old skin. Cobwebs danced in the shafts of late afternoon light. She made it to the upstairs bedroom, the one facing the woods, when her boot caught on a loose floorboard. She cursed, knelt down, and pried it up, expecting maybe a squirrel's nest or an old coin. Instead, she found a small metal tin, rusted around the edges, wrapped in yellowed cloth. Inside was a single envelope. It was addressed in delicate feminine script. Private Thomas R. Whitmore, 3rd Infantry Division, APO 403. There was no stamp, no return address, just a name and a silence that screamed louder than war. Marie didn't open it immediately. Something about the letter felt sacred, like it wasn't meant to be touched by just anyone. She sat down on the dusty bed frame, ran her fingers across the edges of the envelope, and noticed the wax seal on the back. It had once been red. Now it was cracked and brittle, like the promises it contained. Against her better judgment, she opened it. "My dearest Thomas, if you're reading this, then somehow, by God's grace, it found you. I pray it did. I've written and rewritten this letter 100 times, but the words never feel right. How do you say goodbye when your heart refuses to believe in endings?" Marie stopped reading. She looked up at the empty room, the faded wallpaper, the cracked mirror, the long dead roses on the sill, and realized this wasn't just a letter. It was a moment trapped in time. A farewell that had never been received. A life paused mid-sentence. She kept reading. "They say the war will be over soon, that you'll be home by Christmas. But the nights are colder now, and Mama says I walk like I'm waiting for a ghost. I keep dreaming of you at the train station, smiling like you did when we carved our names into that old oak tree before you left. Thomas, I need to tell you something I should have said before you shipped out. I didn't want to burden you while you were fighting. But now I carry it like lead in my chest." The letter went silent for a moment, the ink fading. Then the next line. "You're going to be a father." Marie set the letter down. She realized she was crying, and she didn't even know why. Maybe it was the way the words held so much love. Maybe it was the thought of a soldier dying without ever knowing he had a child. Or maybe it was something deeper, the idea that our most powerful moments often go unheard. She did some digging. The county archives still kept old military records, and in a dusty folder labeled Casualties World War II, she found him. Private Thomas Ray Whitmore, KIA, France, November 14th, 1944. He never made it home, never read the letter, never met his son. If he had one, Marie couldn't let it go. She searched obituaries, genealogy websites, even town records, and that's when she found the name, Eleanor Whitmore, born May 1945, died 2002, survived by one son, Samuel T. Whitmore. A lead, a name, a bloodline still alive, and a decision to be made. 3 weeks later, Marie stood outside a modest house in Ohio, letter in hand. She had called ahead, barely knowing what to say. "I found something. I think it belongs to your family." That was all. Samuel Whitmore answered the door. Early 60s, kind eyes, but worn, like a man who'd buried more than his share of truths. She told him the story, showed him the envelope. His hands trembled as he opened it. His lips moved silently as he read. Then he looked up, eyes filled with something ancient. "I always wondered," he said. "Mama never told me much, just that he died overseas. She never married, kept everything close." Marie nodded. She was waiting for him, she said quietly, even when she knew he wasn't coming back. That night, Samuel read the letter aloud at his father's grave. There was no music, no ceremony. Just a man speaking into the silence, letting words that should have been heard 80 years ago finally find their way home. "You were going to be a father," he read, voice breaking, "and now I know." As the wind moved through the trees, Marie stepped back. Somewhere beneath that soil, beneath decades of silence, the echo of a soldier's life stirred. And this time, it was heard. How many letters were never read? How many truths stayed buried beneath floorboards and silence? If this story moved you, tell us where you're listening from. And don't forget to subscribe to Echoes of Humanity 577, where the unheard finally have a voice.